Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again. Today, to help celebrate the holiday season, we are going to make 4 incredibly delicious holiday cookies. And after all of the cookies are baked, we can sit before a warm fire and taste each one. The first cookies we are doing today are French butter cookies. Now, I enjoyed these cookies many times on trips to Paris. You can find these cookies in just about any French bakery, any French drugstore, or any French newsstand. And the cookies are crisp, slightly crumbly, and totally delicious. So we are starting with 10 tablespoons or 140 grams of room temperature butter. And you do want to use good quality butter here because butter is what these cookies are all about. And to the butter, I'm adding a half cup or 100 grams of granulated sugar. And then I'm going to beat the butter and sugar together until the mixture turns light and fluffy. That will take about 2 minutes. This looks light and fluffy now, so I'm going to add 1 large room temperature egg and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. This is our own homemade extract. And then I'm going to beat this mixture for about 1 minute, just to make sure everything is well incorporated. Now we can set the wet ingredients aside for a moment and mix the dry. So I have 2 cups or 260 grams of all-purpose flour here, and I do weigh out my flour. And to the flour, I'm adding a half teaspoon of baking powder and a half teaspoon of salt. Give this a whisk. Then we can add all of the flour to the wet ingredients, the flour, baking powder, and salt. And then I'm going to mix this at low speed just until the flour disappears into the dough. And while that's happening, I can clean up. Now we can form the dough into a ball. Put the dough in a bowl. Then I want to cut the dough in half. And then we need to roll each half into a circle that is approximately 1/4 inch thick. And I'm going to do that between sheets of parchment. I've tried doing this between sheets of cling film, and it just doesn't work very well because the cling film tends to wrinkle up and it creates creases in the dough. So now I'm transferring this circle of dough still in its parchment, and I'm going to chill it in the freezer for 10 to 15 minutes, or you can refrigerate the dough for about 30 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to roll out and do the same thing with the other half of the dough. My dough is still chilling, but I wanted to make the egg wash that will be brushed onto the cookies. So I have 1 egg here. I'm going to beat this. Then I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. What the cream will do is give the cookies a beautiful sheen. And of course, The egg will help the cookies to brown in the oven. All right, my dough is nicely chilled. It's in the freezer for probably 12 minutes. Now I'm going to gently peel off the top parchment, and then we can start pressing out the cookies. The French butter cookies that I saw in France all had a fluted edge, so I'm using a 2-inch diameter fluted cutter. And I'm going to dip that cutter in a little flour so that the cutouts don't stick. We have a perfect little cookie here. I think I rolled this dough a little too thickly, but that's all right. And of course, you want to gather the scraps, form them into a ball, flatten them into a disc, and then roll them out again between 2 sheets of parchment. One of the nice things about rolling dough between sheets of parchment is that your rolling pin stays clean. Now we can brush the cookies with the egg and cream mixture. Afterwards, I will use a wooden skewer to make some sort of crosshatch design on each cookie. I'm going to bake these cookies 1 tray at a time until the cookies color. That can take anywhere from 12 to 16 minutes, depending on your oven. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. Actually, I will go ahead and do both trays at the same time. And here are the cookies. They look just beautiful. I'm going to let them cool on their baking trays for a few minutes, and then I will transfer them to wire racks to cool completely. These were in the oven for closer to 17 minutes. So you really have to keep an eye on these French butter cookies until they turn the shade of brown that you like. And these biscuits do have a slight glossiness about them. I think they're just beautiful. I'm going to move these cookies out of my sight so they can cool completely. Meantime, we can get started on the next recipe. My friend Victoria gave me a recipe for crispy oatmeal cookies last summer. They were so delicious, I've been making them ever since. So delicious, they are addicting. So I need 1 cup, or about 140 grams, of regular all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Whisk. To my stand mixer, I'm adding 200 grams or 14 tablespoons of room temperature butter, 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar. This is a 1/2 cup measure here. A 1/4 cup or 50 grams of packed brown sugar, light or dark as you please. Then I'm going to beat the sugars and the butter together at medium speed until the mixture turns pale. We are certainly using a lot of butter today. Now we can beat in 1 large egg and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Then I need to beat in the flour mixture at low speed. Then we can either stir in or beat in 2½ cups or 200 grams of rolled oats. I'm giving this one good final stir. I'm going to use my 1½ inch in diameter cookie scoop to form these cookies. And I'm going to space them about 3 inches apart. They do spread. I probably won't bake all of these cookies today, but I will form the rest of the cookie dough and then freeze it. It's always great to have unbaked cookies in the freezer. Then when guests arrive or the mood hits for something sweet, all you have to do is put the cookies on a baking tray and bake them off. Now my oven is already preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius from the French butter cookies that we made earlier. This tray is for the freezer. This tray is for the oven, about 16 minutes. Well, I told you these cookies will spread, and I think I probably made mine a little too large, but that's okay. They are going to be absolutely delicious. I need to let them cool for about 5 minutes, and then I will transfer them to the cooling rack to cool completely. This size cookie would be great for, I don't know, maybe an ice cream sandwich. I will let these cool completely, and then we can move on to the next recipe. My chocolate orange cookies are absolutely refreshing. I love them for tea time, Christmas time, anytime. 1½ cups of flour. That's about 195 grams. A ½ teaspoon of salt. And a ¼ teaspoon of baking soda. Whisk. And we can set this aside for a moment. Then in the bowl of my mixer here, I'm going to add 1/3 cup or 80 grams of regular granulated sugar and a ½ cup, which again is 80 grams of brown sugar, light or dark, your choice. And then I need the zest of 1 large orange. I have 2 medium-sized oranges that I'm going to zest. And if you don't have one of these lemon zesting gadgets, you might like to get one for yourself for Christmas. I love this zester because it removes only the peel, not the pith. Add that right to the sugars. Then I like to use my fingers to mash the orange zest and the sugars together until the sugar and my fingers become very fragrant. So it's a beautiful citrus perfume. Now we can add a half cup or 113 grams of softened butter. And then I'm going to beat the butter and the sugars together until the mixture turns light and fluffy. We are light and fluffy now, so we can beat in 1 large egg. I need to scrape down the bowl. The mixer does a lot of the work, but it does not do all of the mixing work. Now we can add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of orange extract, just for that added zing. Now we can beat in the flour at low speed, and we want to beat only until the flour disappears into the batter. Now we can fold in 1 cup or 160 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips. This cookie dough smells just incredible. Smells like an orange grove. Did you know that you can reuse parchment? This is the same parchment on which we baked the, what did we bake? The oatmeal cookies earlier. So you don't have to throw parchment away after every use. And I'm forming these cookies into 1-inch diameter balls, spacing them about 2 inches apart. So I have 15 formed cookies on this tray. And then I'm going to form the remaining cookies, and as before, I will freeze them. And my oven is still heated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or 180 degrees Celsius, from the previous 2 cookies that we baked. So what I do is flash freeze the formed cookies, and then when they are solidly frozen, I transfer them to a Ziploc bag or some other container and put them back in the freezer. And then they are ready to rock and roll when I am. This tray is going into the oven now. 12 minutes for soft cookies, 15 minutes for crisp. And here are our stunning orange chocolate cookies. These really smell incredible, as I said earlier. And I'm going to transfer them to a wire rack to let them cool completely. And I wanted to mention that, this is really hot. I wanted to mention that until I was around 40 years old, I did not own a stand mixer. I did not own any cookie scoops either. I had no special equipment. So I used to mix my cookie dough the way everybody did prior to 1930, and that was entirely by hand, just using a bowl and a stout spoon. So if you don't have a stand mixer, and not even electric beaters, you can still make excellent cookies. I have one more cookie recipe to do, but it's getting rather late, so I think we will make that 4th cookie tomorrow. And then, as I said earlier, we will light a fire and taste of each cookie. Good morning. We have some matcha tea cookies to make. Now, these cookies are as green as the Grinch who stole Christmas, but there is nothing Grinch-like about them. The cookies are light and crisp and perfectly perfumed with lemon and vanilla. And they are super simple to make. I need 1 cup or 227 grams of room temperature butter, 1 cup or about 120 grams of confectioner's sugar. And then I will cream the butter and confectioner's sugar together until the two become light and fluffy. Then beat in the yolk from 1 large egg, one tablespoon of pure vanilla extract, and to brighten the flavor, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of pure lemon extract. Now we can add 2 cups or 260 grams of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to add this gradually. Then we need the star of the show, which is organic Japanese matcha tea. 2 teaspoons of the matcha. I need to let this matcha cookie dough chill for about 1 hour. You could even chill the dough overnight if you wish. So I'm going to cover it with a towel and pop it into the refrigerator. And while we wait for the dough to chill, we can go light a fire in the parlor. Our dough has chilled. I'm going to form the matcha cookie dough into 1-inch diameter cookies. My oven has preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to bake these matcha tea cookies until their undersides turn lightly brown. That will take from 20 to 25 minutes. I will freeze the second tray of cookies. I love how these matcha tea cookies look. As usual, I will let them cool for a few minutes on their tray, and then I will let them cool completely on a wire rack. And while we wait for that to happen, I'm going to brew some tea, and then we can head into the parlor and have a taste test. I think this black chai tea from Tierra Farm will go very well with our cookies. Take off my apron, and then we can head into the parlor.
In the quiet evening, snow is falling, and from every window shines a light. Somewhere in the distance, drums are calling, but no one heeds.
Well, our snow has turned into rain, but I really don't mind. I'm happy to sit in this room with a warm fire behind me. And now the taste test. Which one should we start with? Lizette is behind the camera. She already has a plate of these cookies. So we're going to start, Lizette, with the chocolate orange cookies. Bon appetit. I bake these cookies somewhere between soft and crisp, and oh my goodness, they have the perfect texture. I love the citrusy scent and taste. I love the chocolate. This is a perfect cookie. This is indeed the perfect tea to go with these cookies. Next, let's try one of these large, or maybe they are just sensibly sized, crispy oatmeal cookies. I forgot to ask Lizette, what did you think of the chocolate orange cookie?
They were amazing.
You could taste the orange?
Yes.
What do you think of the crispy oatmeal?
They're super light and airy. I love them. Easy to bite.
They are light and airy. They're very thin cookies. Now, please pardon my reach, but I need one of the French butter cookies. These are so pretty to look at. They are glossy, and they have the marks that we made with that skewer. Super buttery. They have a slight crunch to them, but they are tender on the inside. What do you think, Lizette?
I think they're the perfect size. They're super, super buttery. You're right.
Yeah, very buttery, sweet. And again, this is the cookie of France, based on my own travels through France. And last, but by no means least, the Matcha Tea Cookies. I love how these cookies have, I don't know, what would you call this? You compared this to Mexican bread. What was it?
Concha?
Concha, yeah. That has the same, I don't know, what would you call the marks?
I would say they look, I don't know, like a ripple.
Yeah, kind of a ripple in the top. And of course, they have this gorgeous green color because matcha tea is green. The first thing I taste in this matcha tea cookie is lemon. And it's a super light, crisp cookie. What do you think, Lizette?
I think this is my favorite cookie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So Lizette's favorite cookie is the matcha tea cookie. And my favorite, I don't really have a favorite. It's like when you ask someone who their favorite child is. Kind of hard to answer. So let's just say I love all of these cookies. And again, all of the recipes are on my website, so I will put a link to each recipe in the description below. I hope you are all having a wonderful holiday season, and I hope you will try one or all of these cookies. I need more tea. And in the comments below, I hope you will let me know how your own holiday baking is coming along. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I hope you will subscribe and be sure to tap the little bell icon so that you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we made all of these cookies. I will put a couple of my other videos at the end of this one that you can enjoy between now and my next upload. And until then, please take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now, friends.